You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey all, welcome back to Cards to the Moon with it's lucky number 13, and my name is Clark, and I'm joined as always with Hyung and John. Now, before we get into our first segment, I just want to provide the latest news on the Fanatics deal, which we talked about extensively in last week's episode, so you guys should hear that. But I believe it was The Athletic that reported Fanatics will indeed have exclusive licensing rights to produce NBA basketball cards starting in 2026. So, few questions, right? Is this the end of Panini Prism and Panini Select cards, right? Or do you think Fanatics buys out Panini? We talked about Fanatics possibly buying out Topps last week. What does Panini do next, with the remaining time they have with the NBA license? Yeah, what do you guys think?
I think, truthfully, 2026 the more I think about it, it's such a long time away.
Sure.
I know it's like the hobby headline, I guess, this week and stuff, and it's big news. But I think it's gonna kind of taper in because we don't know what's gonna happen in terms of, people speculate, oh, maybe Topps Panini gets bought out, But it's like, right. Also, like I said, there could be fundamental factors like technology that plays a huge factor on where kind of like this whole market and hobby kind of goes to, right? So it's 2026. That's still,
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. A lot can happen, right? So it's like I feel like, it's going in the right direction. Everybody kind of seen it happening in terms of at least with the first deal with MLB, and then as they start going, it's like who's going to get NHL, and then and it keeps on going, right? So it's interesting, but I'm optimistic again. I hope that a company like Fanatics and the right people in place can, lead that group into the right direction to make this, I guess, more of a proper market, right? Something that's
for sure,
better for the hobby and I guess from an investment standpoint as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Now that we had about, like a week to digest this, last week, I think we were all, a mixture of shock and a bit of sadness, thinking there wouldn't be Topps Chrome and all that yada yada yada. But now that we've had some time to digest, definitely feeling way more optimistic. I think this is all just amazing news for the hobby. More money being poured in, and like Hyung said, it's gonna be. We're talking 4 or 5 years down the road. Like anything can happen. Like who knows if we're fully into like an NFT world or something different could be in the landscape. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm feeling really optimistic. I think it's all really good stuff.
What do you guys think about the whole, think about from a licensing perspective? It's like they go after the licensing, right? And then what happens, who has licensing before? It's Topps and Panini, but Fanatics, that's their specialty. And all of a sudden, the value of Topps as a company or Panini as a company without licensing, tanks. And this is a good opportunity, I guess, from a business standpoint to kind of, buy that, company at the end of the day because the brand is strong, right? So it'd be interesting when you live in a world of capitalism, anything can happen too. So I just want to throw that out there because I know that's, in discussion as well, like with speculations, I guess, right? But I wouldn't not be surprised, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there are a lot of smart people out there, looking for opportunities, and this could be one of them.
Absolutely.
Right? So, yeah. But like you guys, I'm pretty optimistic still, and I echo everything you guys have just mentioned, that honestly, we're shocked by the news last week, and I don't think it'll be the end of big news in the hobby. I think it'll just keep coming,
Right.
Like the hobby will continue to innovate, more players will come into the game as the hobby becomes even more lucrative. I don't know. We'll see what Panini does next, but I think we generally agree it's exciting times for the hobby.
100%.
For sure.
Cool. All right, with that, let's move on to hobby headlines. Now, I wanted to get a little more practical today and offer our listeners what I'm calling underrated plays, which is any play that we think more collectors should be thinking about to yield a good ROI in their sports card investments. All right, so I can start things off to give you a quick example, and it's actually something I mentioned last week in our, I believe it was in our On a Budget segment, which is to start investing in SGC 10 graded cards or SGC 1010 for autograph graded cards. And my reasoning is with PSA and Beckett grading services temporarily suspending most of their services to catch up on their backlog, I think SGC has been a great option for a growing number of collectors who want their cards graded. Like, people just want their cards graded, right? Mm-hmm. And more importantly, not to wait 6 months to over a year to get it back. Mm-hmm. So SGC is definitely filling in that void nicely, and I think more collectors will actually start to submit their cards with them even when PSA and BGS resume with their regular services. I think the price point is just right for SGC right now. Who knows if they'll change in the future? And I think the turnaround times, like, people are actually surprised that they're getting their cards back 2 to 3 weeks after they submit it, and because we're so used to PSA and BGS holding the cards for months, several months to a year at a time. And one final point, if you look at some comps of PSA graded cards or even the BGS graded cards versus the SGC graded cards of the same player, I think, John, you mentioned it before, that gap in value is closing. In other words, right, you could still get SGC cards for cheap or cheaper, but they still have a lot of room to grow in value. And no, I want to make it clear, we're not getting paid by SGC. I'm not saying this because of that. So this is my honest, non-biased opinion, all right?
I'm not going to lie. Last couple of weeks, Clark, I was looking for SGC slabs. I honestly didn't even know how to search it. I didn't know what to search or how do I invest in SGC slabs particularly. So I just put SGC 10, and then a bunch of random stuff came out. But I mean, I think it's a smart move. I think if you think about it, what difference is there? It's just brand value right now. And if SGC does their quality work like they claim, and I don't see why long term it can't be a sound investment as well, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you notice some of the comments that kind of go around in the social media space, I know a lot of people have sort of been complaining that PSA has been way tougher than they usually would have been 12 months ago. A lot of people have noticed BGS. I mean, Hyung has some examples in hand where BGS seemingly is getting a little bit tougher on autos, maybe a little bit tougher on some of their grading scales. And with SGC, I feel like they've been very consistent. I haven't really heard people say or complain that they've gotten tougher or they've changed. So I haven't really seen that criticism in SGC. So that might be a really good thing for them as well.
Sure.
Nice. I guess I'll share my kind of tip. One thing that I do, obviously everybody knows that I love to rip. Something that I think a lot of people in this hobby just can't, run away from. It's like the new release comes out. It's like, that it's not a sound investment. You're probably not going to hit anything, but there's that one chance you pull that.
Still got to do it.
You still got to do it. You got to try, right? And I think that's inevitable. So one way that I kind of, justify it at least is I like to hedge usually when I do rip. If I'm spending a few $100 on let's just say a hobby box, I would probably, some people would laugh at this, but up the budget a bit and, kind of double the budget and spend it on maybe a card that, you've been looking at that's a really good deal right now, right? That has a chance to kind of go up. And that way you're kind of, playing with house money in terms of, I don't like to call it house money, but you know what I mean? It's a lot easier to recoup that money if you don't hit anything. That's gonna return on your investment in terms of the ripping, right? So I like to hedge, and it's worked for me well because from a long-term perspective, if I'm ripping constantly throughout the year and I'm constantly following that pattern, I guarantee you throughout that year, I'm going to win out because the sound investments are going to grow enough where, I'm making enough money for my losses at least, right? So that's worked for me well. And I know people might be like, well, they don't have that budget, but that's what I try doing. Just rip a little less and kind of, spend a little more when you do rip, right? Just to hedge that kind of like that bet, because ripping is overall very, very stupid.
It's like a lotto play, right?
But, absolutely.
Hyung, can you give us an example of that, like you doing that in the past?
Geez. No, that just justifies me buying slabs, right? But like, let's just say, for instance, I think Trae Young is cheap, still undervalued in some of his cards, right? So if I'm gonna open up, some select hobby box, let's just say, and drop $700-800 on a hobby box or whatever they are, and I feel like this Trae can grow a bit, $300-400. I'm halfway there in terms of, getting my money back at least on some of the box, right? And then if I do hit something, big, usually you're gonna win out on that side, right? So that's kind of like the hedging. I guess it's playing defense of a poor offense, a defensive strategy of a poor offense.
Gotcha.
I just chalk it up to a guy's night out.
Yeah.
We're older now. We're not going, we're not hitting the clubs and spending like dropping like 200-300. Spending it on hobby boxes, man. That's all it is.
Drinks, right?
You're paying for entertainment value.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right. So I'm gonna I touched on this on a couple of episodes, but I'm gonna talk about ratios and really learning some of these ratios that are present to find steals and deals. So like a very simple example is like learning the ratio between Prism base and Prism silver. So generally, I don't know what the number is right now, but traditionally it's been at around 5x for most products. So like, base versus silver, Donruss Optic versus Hollow, and Select versus Select Silver. It's basically around the 4 or 5x mark.
Right.
So if you know those ratios and if you've ingrained into your mind, or if you're searching for a particular card and you know the ratios between certain cards, when you see a listing pop up and it's like a buy it now or whatever, and the number is different. So let's say Luca Prisms go for 1,000, and I don't, that's not the price now, but let's use easy numbers. It goes for 1,000 and silvers go for 5,000. All of a sudden, there's a listing for a silver at 3,900. That's under that 5x mark, right? So what you're gonna start to search is, did the base go down, or is the silver cheap? What's going on here? Obviously, the ratio's off. Let me try to find out. And then eventually, you do quick research and you'll find out, hey, I think this silver is cheap. And those are those opportunities you pick up on, right? So, like a perfect example actually that happened in the past. I wanted to go back in a story. Like when we were young, starting off in the 90s, it was awesome to get whatever Griffey rookie cards, Juan Gonzalez rookie cards. But if you ended up getting them autographed, like that was even cooler. Like it was like, oh my gosh, you have like the rookie, Todd Van Poppel autographed rookie card. Like that was the coolest thing on the playground. And even in collecting, like that's why people were lining up in front of the stadiums and like trying to get those autographs. And obviously somewhere down the road, the hobby said, the autograph actually ruins the integrity of the original rookie card, and it actually devalued, right?
Right.
But now that we're in this grading world and you got these dual autos, and when you get an autograph manually autographed on the card, it's not like a Panini certified. It's like you physically got the autograph from Mike Trout, and then, it gets encased and you get that dual 10. Like that's valuable now, right? It's kind of like the world has changed.
For sure.
And the example I want to use is Hyung recognized that. He was like, you know what? I think there is a really good opportunity here. And he went and picked up the Mike Trout update rookie card.
Yeah, I saw
auto,
it.
Right. The 1010, the dual auto 1010. He's like, I believe in this. I think this is.
I use the ratio. I use the
Golden
ratio,
John
ratio. The Golden John ratio.
Right.
So that's what we should name
so
it.
he picked it up early, And then lo and behold, like, 15 days later, 2 or 3 of them popped up again. And they went for around 15K. So now, if you're in this market and you're looking at this opportunity, Hyung clearly saw manually getting autographs and then the grade coming back 10-10 is an opportunity. The update goes for $3,000. The autograph goes for 15K, 15 grand. So that's 5x. So now you got a baseline to work with. I know it's Trout. I know he's the GOAT. But at least you know the potential of what this card can bring. And literally like a month later from that purchase, Hyung saw 2 Tatis auto, flagship auto, and then the flagship chrome auto, 1010s. I think, Hyung, how many? There's like 2 of each actually.
Yeah, there wasn't much. It's super low pop. Yeah,
right.
I got it for a steal.
Exactly.
It was the same thing. It was almost as expensive as the base, which is crazy, right?
So the flagship, I think the flagship at that time was going for like $200-$300. The chrome was going for $350. And this guy, first ever listings of these cards came out. I think the flagship auto 1010 was like 400 US,
right?
And the chrome was 500. And Hyung immediately recognized that, hang on, this is like 2x. This pricing does not make sense. I'm grabbing it all. And he went and picked it up. And then a month later, now we're using that 5x as an example from the Trout. We've seen it. More of those Tatises came out. I think like 10 of them came out. And they started selling for 1,000. The flagship sold for 1,000, which is around 5x. And then the chrome started selling for around 1,500, which is around 5x. So that's what I'm saying. I think that's a perfect example of Hyung taking advantage of these ratios, recognizing them, and then using that knowledge to his advantage to like pick up quick on an opportunity when it presented itself, right?
I did. Yeah, I sold that Tatis, one of the chromes, for 2K. Actually, yeah, it was like literally 3-4 months after that. So it was a nice little flip.
Crazy.
That's why I also bought 2 of them, right? Because I wanted to sell one, make my money back, and then kind of just lock one in the safe. I think they're pop 6, so I knew that they were going to be a big card. But a lot of people don't like them for some reason. But I'll keep stacking them. I always think of having like a OPG Wayne Gretzky auto, or that. The OG, 79 OPG with an autograph, or like the Trout auto, on his rookie card. I personally like autos on that, but yeah, you're right, John. Those ratios really helped me out in terms of determining whether it was a good buy, right? Even like numbered cards, for instance, when you're talking about hollows, it's like I laugh kind of when I see numbered cards, low numbered cards going for the same price as a hollow, something that's like super low pop, numbered, and the same version of the hollow it's going for the same price, right? So
yeah,
I think understanding ratios is a great kind of way to get ahead of maybe buy a card that's maybe undervalued, right? So yeah.
So anyways, I mean, there's more ways you can uncover it, but that was just one of I thought of like a good example amongst the 3 of us.
Yeah, that's a good one for sure. And I think I mentioned before too, like I can't remember which episode, but I like occasionally looking at the buy it now listings that are newly listed, because you could find some good deals. And what you're saying is using ratios could be a great way to determine very quickly if it's a good deal or not. Because sometimes it might be priced lower than you think, but if you don't do your ratios, if you don't check the other listings, the whole market might just be down at the moment. And you might not be getting the deal that you think you are. But that's why you check those ratios to see, hey, this might be a good bargain, actually.
Yeah.
Cool. I think this will be a good reoccurring segment too. We're always learning something about the hobby, and I feel oftentimes, more often than not, we're right. Sometimes we're wrong. And we'll share those in the dead wrong segment, right?
No, we've taken L's. No, we've taken L's.
We're trying to be as transparent as possible. All right, moving on to our next segment then. It's called Fast 5. We've done this before, but if you're new to the podcast, it's where I'll throw out 5 names of athletes, and you tell me if you would buy, sell, or hold on their sports cards in general. Today, I just picked out a general theme for this segment, and that's newly retired athletes. All right. I just want to kind of get your thoughts where you think the value of these newly retired athletes are in terms of their sports cards. All right. So our first one is Drew Brees, New Orleans Saints quarterback, legend to many, just retired, definitely a Hall of Famer. This might be an easy one. I wanted to start off easy, so yeah, I'll throw it to you guys. What do you guys think?
It's crazy to think that when I was like in high school, like Drew Brees was still like, that's when he was starting his career, and the fact that he's still playing, or I guess he played last year and till this day,
Yeah.
you know, is incredible. And to me he's you know, one of the greatest of all times, and to me he's a buy. It's easy for me, 100%.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think this one's an easy one. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. And even in terms of an investment for long term, I mean, we're talking, you know, all of these newly retirees. These are very slow progressing investments. These aren't quick flips. But Drew Brees in general, I'm definitely a buy. He's one of the all-time greats. And even his likability, I think he was well liked and respected throughout the league and throughout fans all over the world and collectors, and even collectors. So I like Drew Brees as a buy. I like him as an investment. So yeah, he's a buy for me too.
Okay. I think I made this way too easy, but yeah, it's going to be a clean sweep with Drew Brees as a buy. I don't know if I need to add any more points to what you guys already mentioned, but yeah, I think he's going to still stay relevant in the game. I could see him as a sports broadcaster for one of the major networks, kind of like Troy Aikman, and the numbers kind of speak for themselves, right? Probably would have been a harder question if he didn't win a ring. Yeah, so a clean sweep with Drew Brees. Okay, I'm going to stick with football for this next player, and this quarterback also won a ring, but he's probably not as well liked. So this might be a bit more difficult for you guys. His name's Eli Manning of the New York Giants. So, yeah, what do you guys think?
This made me scratch my head over and over, because my initial is like, I'm not a fan of Eli, but
Yeah.
I will say, you know what? Like, I think he's still a good buy. Like, I just seen his card prices, and I think they're fairly
Right.
that's the thing is he a Hall of Famer? And that's the thing. He's not a first ballot, I don't think, but like he's gonna be. And you know, for me, it goes back to that kind of like, you know, is he a Hall of Famer? And if he is, it's like, is there a buying opportunity right now, right? So I think his prices are relatively cheap, but at the same time, I also think he's vanilla, right? Like he's solid, but like he's vanilla ice cream. So it's like, it is what it is, right? So just based on prices, I'm going to say he's a buy, but it made me scratch my head a lot, because I was like, I'm off of him.
Right. Okay.
He's lucky he's in the New York market, because if it wasn't, I don't think anybody would be paying attention to Eli. I'm a sell as well.
You're a sell. Hyung's a buy.
I'm a buy.
Oh,
right
you're a buy. Sorry,
he's too cheap. Like his $700 or something like that for his.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
You know, PSA
Right.
10, right? So.
right. My mistake. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go the other way. Sorry, I'm a sell, and
Okay.
the reason why I'm a sell is, I feel like, you know, Hyung said it right at the top. I think that's sort of the opinion of most people not from New York or a fan of the Giants. Is you know, like, I don't really like Eli. Like, I never really cheered for Eli. Like, that's sort of the consensus feeling for the casual sports fan. And I think that will relate to his sports cards. Like, I think it's the New York market specifically who adores him, or who, you know, puts him in sort of like a legendary status. And I feel the rest of the world doesn't really, you know. And for that reason, I don't think there is that much potential for that card to go higher and higher. I think it would be lucky for it to stay where it is, just because it's New York, and his name will continue trading in that market. But other than that, yeah, for me, I'm not touching Eli Manning.
Okay.
I don't blame you.
Well, you know what? I know a lot of our listeners, our data shows are from the New York area. So Eli Manning is my favorite quarterback ever. He's a definite buy, guys. Don't listen to John or anyone else.
Oh, man.
No, I love New York. I love my friends from New York, but I am also a sell on Eli. I think I've only rooted for him once, and that was when they beat the Patriots. And, it was against Brady, if you remember that game.
Yep.
But, yeah, I agree with Hyung, too, in this regard. Like, when I think of Eli Manning, he's pretty vanilla. Like, I think he's more known to be Peyton Manning's younger brother, too, to be honest.
It doesn't help, right?
Yeah, to be overshadowed. Yeah, to be overshadowed by Peyton, right? And you see Peyton's cards, it's the moon. It's insane.
That's the only reason
crazy.
I say,
But Peyton's on a different level. He was,
for sure.
100%.
You guys think Eli would be a Hall of Famer if he didn't have a ring? Like, I think that ring puts him into, he's lucky he won it.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's a really good question. But I don't know. Even asking that question and us kind of being on the fence kind of tells you about what we think of his future value. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I want to invest in a newly retired player, I want to be sure about the constant returns over years. It might not be fast, but at least we could, be confident that it'll continue to grow, almost like a ETF in stocks, or like investing in the index funds or something like that. But I don't know if that's true for Eli, to tell you the truth. I think it could still go down, and it might not be worth even the $700 that's listed at. So I'm a sell. All right, we'll move on to baseball, and I don't know if it's me growing up in the 90s and watching a player that was just a little bit taller than me. I'm a short guy, but just being amazing with the power, like Dustin Pedroia of the Boston Red Sox, like he was the guy I always rooted for, even as a Jays fan in the AL East. But, Dustin Pedroia kind of fell off like the last several years with injuries, and I think he might have stayed in the league a little bit too long, and he just faded. But, if you look at his numbers, it's pretty impressive. So what do you guys think about Pedroia?
For me, so I played against Pedroia. He played at ASU.
Did you?
He was unbelievable. He was an unbelievable player, unbelievable college player, and he was a dirtbag. I used to respect the crap out of players that played like that, right? They just had that kind of, the way he plays, the way he carries himself, scrappy.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like for the hobby, from an investment standpoint, the collector side, of course, I'm buying, but from an investment standpoint, I don't think he's gonna ever be relevant, in the news, outside that will, make his prices swing in any given way, right? So
sure.
For me, it's like if you're in as a collector, then buy. So in my case, I have a pretty cool story. Like I played against that guy, and he was a dirtbag, and he was a great player. We beat them in the regionals. They are hosting. Just throwing that out there. We swept that regional in 2002, but and then we ended up losing to Texas in the Supers. But Pedroia was a freshman at the time, and he was the most incredible player. Like I was like, kind of like amazed, to be honest, at like how good this guy was, like because everybody was pretty much a stud. Everybody's playing college ball, but then here's this, like you said, 5'8" guy. He's a freshman. He was probably about $165 soaking wet, and I'll tell you what, he would make plays that were just so unbelievable. But so from that perspective, I do respect that. So I would buy, but in terms of investment standpoint, like I said, no volatility, which you're going to be carrying the bags, right? So if you like the card, buy it. But I'm off. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, to be honest. Great personality though. I could see him on like a Boston sportscaster or something. Yeah. New England. So yeah.
Fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. I put Dustin I put Pedroia and Eli Manning in like the exact same situation.
Okay.
I think they have legendary status in their respective hometowns. But other than that, I really don't see anything. Like Hyung said, there's nothing there for me to see as an investment for it to move the needle. I don't think there are enough Pedroia fans outside of Boston that care enough to really want to go heavy on Pedroia. He also reminds me of, like, for example, for us, it would be like Josh Donaldson. Like, Toronto fans would love Josh Donaldson, autograph cards, relics, rookie cards. But outside of Toronto, I don't think there are many people, even though Josh Donaldson he's getting close to carving out a Hall of Fame career. I don't think there's anybody outside of Toronto that really cares about Josh Donaldson. And I could be wrong, but I kind of put all of these guys in that category where they're hometown heroes. But beyond that, there's nothing there for me to want to invest in. So it's an easy one. It's a sell for me.
All right, another sweep, guys. I thought, I would try to get all nostalgic with Dustin Pedroia with you guys, but
I love him as a player. That's about it.
Oh man, he was amazing. He was amazing to watch in his prime, though. Like
he was
unbelievable. And with Ortiz, like that team was incredible. But yeah, Dustin Pedroia. I don't think I need to add any more points to what you guys already said. More of a hometown guy, hometown hero, and just for me personally too, it'll be great for my personal collection. But yeah, I don't see it as a wise investment in the hobby. All right, let's move on then to tennis this time. And I'm going to throw out Maria Sharapova because she used to be on top of the world, amazing to watch, and she was relevant beyond tennis. And I feel like she's one of those players that kind of disappeared quickly too, maybe because of injuries. And her retirement's like, oh, when she announced it, you're like, oh, she's still playing? That kind of feeling, right? So What do you guys think about Sharapova?
You know what? I used to watch Sharapova a lot, like kind of like back in, I guess it would be what years would it be? I guess high school, college, like way back.
Yeah, mid 2000s.
And that was she was the biggest thing, right? Because she had the look, she had everything going for her, right? But then when you brought that up in this post, I'm like, no, like I don't think I'd ever even looked at her, like her card. Serena Williams and Venus Williams were the first ones I've looked at with that first episode or the second episode we did. But in terms of Sharapova, I'm off on cards, like completely. I'm a sell. Sorry, there's nothing for me there. I don't think I would ever even try to sell if I had as well. So I'm a sell.
Okay.
This is a tough one because I don't think there's really anything out there for Sharapova. The only thing that's really caught on for tennis, and we mentioned it before, is NetPro. And I think Sharapova was too young. I don't think she was in any of those NetPro cards. So if NetPro is the only one that's sort of recognizable, there's no upper deck, there's no tops. There's really, I think there's a newer tops with Naomi Osaka, but obviously Maria is not in that either. So she's really got nothing. Other than I really I quickly did a search and there's some obscure tennis cards that she's in. And there's some obscure auto tennis cards. And I'm not about that right now. I think it's just way, way too niche. So I'm a sell. But with that being said, in the future, if there is, I don't know, like an upper deck exquisite and then Maria Sharapova auto comes out, I still do think that has the legs to, be a decent investment. She still is really popular. People, had a lot of guys had a lot of crushes on her and all of that stuff. Like she's relevant in that sense. So in the future, if there are, some kind of main company auto card of a Maria Sharapova comes out, like Allen and Ginter or something, I don't know if one exists, but it might not be a bad play. But in terms of right now, what I'm seeing and just seeing these really, really niche tennis cards, no, she's a sell for me.
Well, it's funny you said Allen Ginter because there is a Sharapova Allen Ginter.
I actually seen it.
Okay, yes. There is.
And you know how I love my Allen and Ginter, right? So
here we go.
I think there's a red ink one that's currently listed. I'm just looking at it right now for,
so we know
for
you're
900.
We know you're devil's advocate.
Hold on for a sec while I buy this right now. But I am, oh man, I'm going to say buy only because I feel that alternative sports like tennis will gain steam in the future. I know this is more of a long-term play, but her cards, because there aren't a lot, and the ones that are out there that are graded are pretty cheap, like under 200. So it's not a big risk, but I think tennis as a sport will continue to grow. I think that niche market for tennis sports cards will grow too, and I think as the hobby grows, as more people get into the hobby that just don't like the major sports but all different kinds of sports, I think they'll look back and try to search for Sharapova type cards, and I think I heard news recently Net Pro, because of the success of the hobby, are looking to release a new set after how many years of not releasing anything. So they're trying to they're trying to capitalize on the hobby train, right? Trying to catch the hobby train. So I think all that is just tennis is trending in the right direction, and I think the hobby will be part of that kind of ride as well. So yeah, Sharapova, Kornikova, you could throw her in there.
Yes, Kornikova is the other one. Yes.
Right? So,
but Sharapova is considered she's top 20 all time, no? She's got to be, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I can't remember what her highest rank was, but it's got to be within top 5.
Because she got a lot of wins. Like, yeah, she's legit. I'd have to imagine she's top 20. I'm trying to think of some names. I don't think she would be top 10, but I'd imagine she's top 20 all time. But I don't know enough to definitively say that. But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm a buy at the price right now. The last player for this segment is our hometown favorite before he left the Raptors. His name is Vince Carter, a.k.a. Vinsanity, VC.
Man.
Air Canada. So what do you think? He's one of those athletes that never won a chip too, right? And has played for multiple teams, was a role player in his latter years. But, and I feel like there's a lot of debate on whether he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, or if not in the Hall of Fame, if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know that's a debate that's been going on in the blog sphere. But yeah, what do you guys think of Vince Carter taking away your hometown bias if possible?
I'm leaving my hometown bias in there, and I'm a buy because
you're a buy. Okay.
Well, I'm a buy either way. I think Vince Carter for me like changed kind of the way I seen basketball. He brought so much excitement, and his cards are so cool. I have to say buy just because I bought the 2021 Prism. I've been buying Vince Carter's actually. I think he's underpriced, and I think it's a smart play there. So I've been actually buying him because I think that 2021 Prism is such an awesome card, and he has a few cards that I think are kind of iconic in his own ways. I think his refractor is awesome. His rookie refractor, his Topps Chrome is amazing. Chrome. Such a sick card. So I think there's always going to be a market. And, we know how Toronto is. Like Vince Carter is, that the years he brought here in Toronto were so incredible, so fun. So I'm a buy, and I'm still buying him and I don't even usually buy I guess current year of non-existent players, but for that I mean, I think a red's listed for $50, a numbered red, and I just see so much value in the future of these cards once they kind of disappear and dwindle out, and I just think he's a good buy right now, so I'm a buy.
Cool.
Yeah, there's some awesome cards, man. There's the Panini 1-in-1 auto, the memorable.
Yeah, that's a sick card. I wanted one of those. Yeah.
And then there's a Vince Kaboom in the Raptors jersey. That's another sick one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot help it but include my emotions in this. We all know. I think
you're asking the wrong guys.
I know, right? We all went on that emotional roller coaster. Everybody was 100% in love with Vince, then 100% hated Vince.
Right.
And now it's somewhere in between, and that's where I am. I'm right in the middle. I'm indifferent. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I don't, particularly really care. I get great memories, but for that reason, I'm a sell. Like I can't get, like as a Raptors fan, you look back and you want to get some cards of like all-time Raptors. Like we're all gonna try to collect some PC cards, and I always think to myself, oh yeah, Vince Carter. Like you gotta get a Vince Carter PC. And anytime I look and I search and I just can't pull the trigger. I don't know why. I think there's still a little bit of like backdoor resentment that I'm holding, but for some reason I can't buy. So because I'm not buying, I'm not going to tell the world to buy. So I'm going to sell. I'm going to say sell.
Okay. I'm a little surprised by your answer. It sounds like you were going to say buy, and then you just kind of flipped the switch.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, Vince, man, he put us on a roller coaster of emotions. That guy, freaking guy.
I don't know if you're in the majority. I feel like he went from hero to villain, and I feel like he's a hero again for a lot of Toronto Raptors fans.
There's a lot of people who like him again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people just kind of buried the hatchet. and Vince has shown his love to Toronto again, So I'm a buy. Like, I love Vince. I got his SP Authentic numbered rookie card.
Oh, that's
one of
a good
his better
one.
rookie cards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's to 3,500. And
that was, I think that was like the hottest rookie card when he first came out. It was like beating Topps Finest and all of those guys.
Yep. And
big time card.
And it's not, he doesn't have a lot of numbered rookie cards. I think that's one of the few that he has. And his PSA 10, I think I just saw it listed for under $2,000, which I think for a player like Vince over time, I think that's going to be a bargain, to tell you the truth. Right. And it's a numbered card, like I mentioned. So I think there's value to be had in Vince Carter rookie cards. He's, I think, a sports correspondent with ESPN, so he's still staying relevant in the game. And I think people are going to see when they look at his highlight reels, like he had some amazing dunks. And I think he, in a way, like really made, I don't want to say revolutionize the game, but definitely people tried to really be as flashy as Vince Carter because of what he was doing. And just look at the players now. Like so many of them say Vince Carter is who they grew up watching, that are in the league right now. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So VC is a buy for me. And I looked up to the Panini Prism. I didn't know that card you're talking about, Hyung, but that card looks sick too.
It's
so
a
I'm
sick
gonna have
card.
to.
A number. Think of the gold. I'm telling you, the gold's gonna go for a nice amount. Like if that's gonna be a sick card. That the LeBron gold went for like, I think somebody's selling it for $13,000 right now for the PS1.
Is this the retro? Is this the retro card you're talking about?
The dunk one.
The Kobe dunk tribute card.
The tribute card.
Yeah, that one's a nice card too.
It's so sick. Yeah. So I think like I said, like a gold or a colored Vince Carter in that 2021. I think it's a great. You buy that raw, pretty cheap. Yeah. Get that graded, sit on it. That becomes. I mean, people will want that card. I'll tell you that.
After this show, I'm going to do that. Look at that card, go buy it, grade it with SGC, and then
yes,
and then we're off to the races.
There you go. Live what you preach, right?
Yeah. All right, that wraps up our Fast Five segment, and we have one more segment today, and it's called Pick One. This is where each of us pits two players or cards against one another, and we choose which one we'd rather invest in. All right, so who wants to lead off the segment?
I'll lead off this segment, and
okay.
I picked Yadi Molina because obviously the news came out where he announced his retirement for next year, signed a 1-year extension, and he's in the news, and I'm a huge Yadi fan too. I think he's one of the best defensive catchers in the game. I put him up against another, I think, underrated baseball guy in Joey Votto. And both have, like, I guess they don't have a lot of cards out there. So it's hard to find even a Joey Votto like a PSA 10, for instance, or anything like that, right? So I'm putting Yadi versus Joey up in my first pick one.
Okay.
Oh man, this was a really hard one. Joey, being the Canadian guy, hits home. I think his one I think it was a podcast or something where he rubbed Canadians the wrong way. He said something, might have got taken out of context, but he said something about
it was the WBC, I think. It was like
right.
he couldn't play or something like that. Yeah,
He's like, I don't care about Canada. Who cares about it anyways? Or something. I don't know. It was bad, and all these Canadians kind of turned on him. And anyways, this is tough because I think Yadi cards. What does the Chrome go for? Like $1,000 or more than that? Like he's up there, right?
The Yadi Chromes are up to probably 1,300 around.
Right.
I think. Yeah. I think
so he's
somewhere around there.
He's again on that train of like popularity. I think the whole baseball community, like a lot of people like him. He's got kind of like that bad boy look, but then like he's got a likability factor, right? Like he hustles hard, he plays hard, he doesn't take any BS from nobody. He has that style, right? So he has a likability about him, and I think that's what makes his card so valuable because a lot of people outside of his hometown like him. Joey Votto has a lot to grow. I believe with his recent play, his card has already kind of doubled, but we're talking doubled from 100 to 200, so we're still not talking a lot of money.
Right.
And Joey revitalized his career. I think he was on the track of maybe going to the Hall of Fame and then just fell off the face of the planet. And people probably said, you know what? I don't think it was enough. And now he's just out of nowhere. He's balling out again. And that Hall of Fame consideration, like that talk is back in, right? So I personally like Molina. Like if I were to personally buy a card, I like Molina because I like him. I like him in general, like as a fan. But I'm gonna say Joey Votto for investment purposes. I think has the better chance to give you a return from this year to the next couple of years. I think Joey Votto's got the best chance to give you some good money. So I'm going Joey Votto.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say Molina. Yeah. I thought Johnny was gonna say Molina.
Yeah. I'll let you on a secret. I actually was going to say Molina, and last second I went Joey Votto.
He's like, damn it, Votto.
Yeah.
It's like, I love Molina, but I'm going Votto.
Yeah.
This is tough for me, too, because I obviously grew up watching those guys play, especially during their prime years. And, yeah, in their prime years, they're top 5, right, in their relative positions. But I don't know if it's my catcher bias, which is I don't like investing in catchers in general. I know people feel the same way about pitchers. We were kind of talking about that before we started recording. So I think for that reason, I'm going with Joey Votto. And yeah, it's crazy what he's doing this year. Like seriously, it looks like he was done last year, and then he just kind of went on this resurgence. And the Reds are in the playoff race, so I think if they continue to do well this season, like that's only going to be even more valuable for Joey Votto collectors. And I also like his weird kind of personality off the field. Like he's kind of kooky, right? Like the things he says, I find him funny for some reason because he's so random at times, right? And I think for that, like people talk about him, people are like, what did Joey Votto say this time? And, and I know that incident that you're talking about, Johnny, but when Tony Fernandez passed away, one of our hometown favorites, I know Joey Votto paid tribute to him. So he's still Canadian through and through, I think. Yeah. And so, yeah, all these biases are playing into my decision right now. Canadian boy and non-catcher. So I'm going to go with Votto.
Votto. So we got two on Votto, eh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I know Votto actually really well. He's a Toronto boy, so we grew up in the same kind of like leagues.
Okay.
We go way back, and we actually. This true story. I won't get into too much detail because only so much I can say. But we are in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, actually, and we were playing in the World Baseball Championships in 2005. And Joey was actually, he was a stud. He was in Single A with Dayton at the time, Dayton Reds, which is Single A affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. So this is 2005. So we ended up. This guy was in the minors, but he was unbelievable at the time. This is when he started like really turning a feather and really like, getting up there. And then we played Team Korea, and that after that game, he got literally offered like a boatload of money to go to Korea right now to play. Like they wanted to sign him, like because one of the Korean coaches were kind of on one of the professional teams, and they made some calls, and they really were approaching, Votto, and he just kind of just like smirk. He goes, "I would make a lot more money than that," and then he just basically declined, right? But that's the personality you get. But my whole point was we were in Amsterdam, and we ended up placing like 7th place. So we're in Amsterdam for 2 weeks. So I'll leave it at that. That's where we got lost in Amsterdam for 2 weeks with Joey Votto. It was the most insane thing. But other than that, I believe that from an investment standpoint, I think I believe Yadi actually has a lot more volatility and opportunity to make some money, I think, within the next few years. I think Joey Votto still has some time to play. And I think Yadi Molina will be a Hall of Famer. And I think he's going to, besides Pudge Rodriguez, I don't see any defensive catcher better than, Yadi ever, right? So for me, from an investment standpoint, I'm going Yadi. But I'm going Joey just because, I have some cool stories with him, and, it's a personal kind of like connection there. So I've been looking for Votto cards always and stuff like that, but it's tough. Like I said, it's tough to find. It's not easy to find, good Votto cards. It's been almost like 15 or 20 years, right? So, and it goes the same way with, I guess, Yadi as well, but I'm going to go Yadi in terms of the investment purposes because I think there's opportunity to grow. I think there's going to be a little hype surrounding him with, Hall of Fame talks within the next, few years or whenever that does take place. But I think he had a tremendous career. He's like ridiculous, like 9-time Gold Glove and like 5-time Platinum Glove. Like you're talking about, like ridiculous, kind of like accolades. I think 10-time All-Star. And so I think Joey has some playing to do, and I think eventually he'll get there. But I think Yadi just has a few more years on him, so I'm gonna go Yadi.
Okay.
For that, yeah. Sorry,
that was a good one though.
I just went left and then around there.
Nice.
No worries. John, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna go with a theoretical trade. It's more to know your guys' reaction because I had a certain feeling when I saw this. This was a trade that happened in real life. Some people may or may not recognize the trade, but it's a 2009 Bowman Trout, the Trout Xfractor PSA 9 versus the Tatis Flagship number 410 Platinum 1/1. So this is a trade that actually went down. Monster trade. This is out of our league. But I wanted to know your guys' thoughts on that trade. I had a thought right when it happened. You pick the winner or loser. I had a certain feeling about it. But I wanted to get your guys' feeling on this trade because it was a huge one, right?
You go, Clark. You could start us off with that one.
Okay.
I guess the easy question is if you were to get one of these cards for free, which one are you taking, right?
Right. So it was a 2009 Bowman Chrome, the
Bowman
first
Chrome
Chrome rookie.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was a Xfractor?
Xfractor PSA 9. It's like the value is about $50K USD.
Yeah. And the Tatis was a 1/1. Which card was it again?
The 1/1, the flagship 410.
The flagship 410.
Flagship 410.
Paper,
Platinum 1/1.
Paper platinum.
Yeah.
Whew.
I don't know what the grading was. It wasn't disclosed. But yeah. Anyways.
I'm going Mike Trout.
Interesting.
Mike Trout, the first Xfractor, and I'm just that more confident with Trout's career in general. So even at a PSA 9, who cares?
Numbered out of 225.
Yeah, 225, right? Yeah, the Xfractor. So for me, that's a no-brainer.
Card.
I would love to have a 1/1 in my collection one day, and to have a Tatis one would be I mean, amazing, of course. But if someone offered me a Mike Trout Xfractor Bowman Chrome, I'm like, here, take my Tatis. There you go.
Really? Holy.
Okay. I would.
I get it. Yeah. Okay. I
want
get
to hear
it.
what Hyung thinks.
Oh
Okay.
man,
I'm excited.
This is so tough for me. Like I like Clark. Everything you said was valid. Like it's. Do you want to cash out and play safe, or do you want to take that risk, right? And you know me, I don't play it safe. I go for the biscuit, And I'm like, for me, it's like Tatis Platinum. That's a 1 of 1. And I will say this: the only thing, if it was a Superfractor, if it was a Topps Chrome Superfractor, like we wouldn't even be like having it. It's my mind's made up. But I will say Topps did a terrible job with platinums. Like they're horrible condition. They
so
look
ugly.
like. They're so ugly. They don't look like a Superfractor, right? So that's the only downfall with the platinum Topps paper 1 of 1. But I will say that, like I said, that Tatis image for that 410 is the iconic card. Same with the Bowman Chrome, but we're not talking about the 1 of 1, right? So for me, I'm going Tatis Platinum, and I'm sitting on that card, and I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait until 2030, until Tatis becomes the unbelievable monster he does, putting up 40, 50 home runs a year, and I'm riding with Tatis. You know me, I'm riding with Tatis till we die.
I'm not surprised by that choice, but.
Yeah, when I first heard this trade go down, the person trading the Tatis, I thought they were crazy. I am 100% Tatis. Maybe I got a big buy. Like I Trout is gonna be the greatest of all time, but to have one of the young future superstars, unless he gets like a major injury, I'm we're all seeing how special this kid is, and to have his flagship 1 of 1, man, the just the rarity on that card, how you just can't deny it. So I thought this person was crazy, but their respective thought process was they had some other crazy Tatis cards, and there's just a lot of money in Tatis, and they wanted to start to hedge and put some of it in Trout. So made sense. Made sense.
Yeah.
But between the two, if someone were to give me one for free, I'm taking that Platinum 1 of 1.
Who was it was Phil Hughes with that trade, right?
It was Phil
so
Hughes.
So who got what? Like Phil got
I don't know who got the Phil got the Trout.
The Trout. Okay,
yeah,
so Phil
he gave up the
kind of, right?
Yeah. So he gave up the Platinum. But he's got the Sapphire Auto Super
Right. Yeah, I seen his tat.
Like he's got the $1 million card, so he's good,
yeah.
but still.
Yeah. Maybe diversify a bit there. Yeah, his Tatis collection is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like probably I would say probably the world biggest Tatis collection in the world, maybe.
Possibly.
Value wise, I think, right? He has all the Sapphire big boys.
Yeah.
Just that alone, right?
He's got the full rainbow. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to hear you guys' thoughts, because when I saw it, when I heard it go down, I was like, how can you trade the Platinum 1 of 1? I thought he was kind of crazy, but his reasoning made sense. I understand it, but still.
Yeah.
Phil, I understand you. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think both won out at the end of the day, right? You can't really lose out on that trade, right? At that point. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was a good one. I liked that hypothetical for us. If we're ever in that situation, that would be amazing. Just to be in it. Yeah. Just to be able to have that conversation. But we'd love to hear what you guys think from our listeners. What would you do in that situation? Would you go for the Mike Trout, or would you go for the 1 of 1 Tatis? And you could always reach out to us at 5cardguys on Instagram, or email us at hello@5cardguys.com. I think that's a good way to end off the episode. So thank you to our listeners, and as always, we appreciate it if you subscribe to our podcast, and we look forward to being here next week talking sports cards as usual. See you guys. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.